Hello and welcome to On The Record, a new music business podcast from Billboard and Sickbird Productions. I'm your host, Kristin Robinson, and each week on the show, we will be inviting you into conversations that I have with executives, artists, and journalists about the music business all day, every day. Today is no different. For today's show, we're actually not in Los Angeles at our usual studio. We are live at Sphere in Las Vegas. And more specifically, we are backstage at Sphere, where I'm going to be joined by two key executives at the venue, Josephine Vaccarello and Carolyn Blackwood. Josephine Vaccarello is the head of booking for MSG Entertainment. So she does Sphere as well as a bunch of other venues, including MSG, including Radio City, all the above. She does it all. And we're also joined by Carolyn Blackwood, who is the head of Sphere Studios, which does a lot of the visual and immersive elements of Sphere. Together, we're going to talk through all of the nitty-gritty details that go into booking key residencies at Sphere, from U2 to Backstreet Boys to Anima and everywhere in between. So with all that being said, please welcome to the show, Josephine Vaccarello and Carolyn Blackwood. I'm so glad that you guys are here. When did y'all both get here?
Well, I've been here all week, but I've been back and forth from LA. So I've spent a lot of time here the past month in particular.
Yeah,
wow.
I got here on Saturday.
What is more difficult? Is it doing the residencies or putting on an immersive experience like The Wizard of Oz? Like, what is the most time intensive?
Well, in my world, it's the residencies because that's what I oversee. But I mean, there's a lot that goes into.
Yeah, they're different. That's what I say.
Yeah.
They're very different. The residencies are incredibly time intensive for us too, but it's a shorter amount of time. You might start working on them, 6-8 months in advance. The experiences can be 2 years plus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did The Wizard of Oz start?
2 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's crazy. What was one of your proudest moments at Sphere so far?
For me, it was opening night, for sure.
Very, very opening night.
Very, very opening night. You too. I didn't breathe the entire night. But watching it all come to life after all of the planning was a moment.
So were you just in the crowd with everyone else, or did you have to be working that night?
Always working.
Always.
Is the answer.
Always on the clock.
Literally always working. But it was, making sure that everything was running smoothly and there's no issues. It's what I do at every show.
Yeah. And Carolyn, what about you?
I wasn't here for opening. I've only been at the company for almost a year and a half. So I think for me it was probably the Kenny Chesney opening of that residency.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first one of the residencies where I had been there from the start and worked really, really closely with the artist and the teams and had that sort of marriage and collaboration in a way that was incredibly satisfying. And everyone got super close and worked really hard, and sort of getting there, on that evening, both nerve-wracking and really satisfying, because you're like, God, I've been here, you've been there from the beginning of the process. So that felt like my first sort of full circle moment. Yeah.
How long does it take to plan one of these residencies? I don't know if there's a set time.
I think it's anywhere between 8 months and a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's right.
The right amount.
I think that's right. Yeah. And it depends too, because there's an intensity of getting the creative ideas down, knowing what you're going for, tweaking, changing. There's a little bit more of a, it's not an intense process in the sort of middle part of it, because you're just sort of plugging along. And then you get into like full throttle testing in Big Dome, constantly making sure everything's okay, rendering out versions, making changes, and it gets pretty intense. So it's a different ramp up during those, 8, 9, 10 months, 12 months, just depending. Like with Kenny, we started early because he was on tour.
Right. And he wanted
to capture a lot of that footage from the tour that he would use in the show. So that was an earlier start for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. And Kenny was one of the first he was the first country
artist.
Okay. And then you have Zach Brown later this year.
Yep.
Yeah. Very exciting. So I'm wondering, when you're booking, are you considering the demographics of the fan base that this artist has?
Absolutely. It's, we want to make sure that we're opening and showing the world Sphere. So, different genres, different artists is definitely what we're looking at.
What are some other considerations that you think make an artist the right fit for Sphere?
It's creativity for sure. It's figuring out that artist vision, and it's learning a brand new medium. We have this, whole new set of toys for them to play with and for them to be creative into what they're going to show their fans. But, it's creativity.
What was one of the most ambitious residencies?
Every single one is ambitious because
100%.
they're all coming in with their own story. They're all coming in with, their own ideas of what they want to do. And it's actually great because every single act that comes in wants to, I'm going to say, one up the last one, right? How can I do something more? How can I do something different than the last act has done? So each of them are ambitious.
And how many shows does it typically take to break even and then start earning a profit from these shows?
I don't know that there's a finite number, but I think that 12 is the right number.
So typically when you're looking to book people, you're hoping to hit that magic number of 12.
Yeah.
So
12 or more.
Yeah. And then how does it work when, like the Backstreet Boys, for example, who I just saw, that was my first Sphere show.
Did you wear all white?
Did you
wear all white?
I wore all black because I didn't get the memo.
I mean, I'm with you, obviously.
Yeah. So, yeah, I walked in and I had no idea. And I was like, I completely missed this memo. I jokingly told my sister, who I brought with me to the show, that like, oh, we should wear Millennium White. But I was like, no, that's too corny. I'm not going to try to dress up.
It's amazing to see.
Everyone was having such a great time in their white, and I was left out.
Well, opening night, Jojo and I did the all white thing.
Hey, good.
Both of us, I think we had to go out and buy
because I have nothing.
So we were like, okay, well, we have to do it.
Yeah.
We have to actually show up, right? Mm-hmm. So we wore head to toe right. And we joked about it too. We were like, you will never see us like this again. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm in, like I've got my colorful sweater on tonight, but the ground, of course, is still black, right? So, but normally I am head to toe black like JoJo here.
Yeah, I was embarrassed that I showed up in all black, but I still enjoyed the show. Everything went great. My sister got the memo and she wore all white and it looked great.
I'm glad that she didn't tell you. Okay, that's cool.
But I loved the show. It was also so fun to see like everyone was a millennial woman.
Yeah.
I feel at home. These are my people here.
Yes.
But it was fun to see what a strong and very specific fan base there was. But now they're coming back. They've announced 2 new legs, essentially.
December for a New Year's run, and then they're coming back in February again.
Got it. So is that something that you kind of reserve in advance, hoping that if this sells well, we'll keep those dates for them?
Yep.
Okay.
It's exactly like that. And in all honesty, dealing with the calendar is unlike other buildings where you come in and, plop in a few dates here and there. It's really Tetris because you don't know what the breadth is. You don't know what it's going to be until it goes up.
I'm wondering, do you have any sort of like software that you use that can help you predict how many nights someone could probably sell out?
There's a lot of data, right?
Yeah.
To figure out an act, how many tickets they've sold, what their touring history is, all of that. But there is, what they would do on tour and then what they would do in Sphere. And Sphere has its own oomph to it. It changes things a little bit. It changes what maybe would normally happen on tour.
So do artists tend to sell more tickets than usual because it's such an event?
It's hard to say, right? Because there's nothing like it anywhere else. But I definitely think that it does give it a little more firepower.
Yeah. And then how do you plan on slotting in other experiences at Sphere with the residencies? Because like you're saying, it's a game of Tetris. So you want to leave spots open for the right act to come in, but also you want to do things like the Wizard of Oz, which take 2 years to plan.
We're a building that runs 365 days a year. Yeah. We don't have dark days. So
never.
We have experiences on days. We have experiences on concert days. We will do 2 experiences in the morning and then flip the house over and do a concert that night.
Wow. So is there something going on right now?
Correct.
Postcard to Earth is playing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. What's the goal with Postcard to Earth? Is that essentially just offering a lower cost option for people to experience Sphere?
Well, I mean, I think Postcards has been running now since the building opened, right? Mm-hmm. So when Wizard of Oz comes in, that will sort of refresh the experience offering for people for a while. And, eventually you build up a library of things where you can rotate things in and out, but we're still new and we're still learning and we're still creating things, right? Yeah. But to JoJo's point, the question often becomes, all right, how many shows can you put in a day when you have a residency that night? I think we're comfortable with 2.
And some days we figured out 3. We figured out 3.
And we're comfortable with
for a late night
every once in a while.
Yep.
Wow.
We sneak a 3rd one in there. But yeah, so it's to JoJo's point, it is Tetris. And then there's other things that we do here. We have marquee events at times as well, where it's like
UFC.
Like UFC or NHL live draft.
Yep.
And then, there are periodically corporate keynotes, like during CES.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
there are other things that happen in the building that we have to sort of plan for across our portfolio of offerings, so to speak.
It feels like, Wizard of Oz obviously taking 2 years is a very intensive process, but after that you'll have it.
That's right.
And so, is the goal eventually to get to a place where just basically any day that there's like a slot open, you can start slotting in postcards, Wizard of Oz, various things.
A library of content.
Absolutely. There's just more already being worked on for future iterations.
That's right.
Wow. Yeah. And so the first residency here was U2.
Yep.
I'm wondering, of all of the options that you had, why U2?
U2 is a band that has always pushed the boundaries. And I have to be honest, they took that leap of faith with us. The building was not finished yet when they signed on. And they've always been on the forefront, specifically with their tours and technology. And they are, a world-renowned band.
Yeah.
It was the right match.
After the U2 residency, what do you feel like you learned from that experience that you could take with you into booking future residencies?
Looking at future residencies, it's really about the creativity of the artist and working hand in hand with that artist, because it really does become a marriage, because you're working with them for, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, day in and day out on what it is that they're trying to, portray. So it's not only about their creativity, but it's that relationship that you have to, really hold close.
It sounds like something where if it's not the right fit, there's no way that it could work, because it's such a time intensive and such a close process.
It's a commitment for sure. No question.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I think about with sphere booking is it might run into a similar problem or challenge per se that a festival headliner slot might run into, in that there's only a handful of artists that really can do it. So I'm wondering, how do you tackle that issue? If you feel there is one.
I don't really know that there is one. And in all honesty, the more we do, the more we learn. Yeah. Also, the more we do, the quicker we are. 100%. The less expensive it is to do. We are continually learning as each new residency comes in. And it's really about translating that vision. Look, not every artist is going to be able to do 30 shows, 40 shows, but there are definitely a lot of artists that can do 6 shows, 8 shows, 10 shows. And it's figuring out how to make it work.
Do you ever recycle visuals for shows?
You always try not to do that. Obviously, when artists come back, like the Eagles comes back and Dead & Co comes back and whatever, there's a certain amount of their show that they keep that is a sort of a bedrock, and then they look to refresh things. And when we're working on shows, if we're working on, it doesn't matter who the artist might be, and we do a piece for them, we're not taking that piece and using it for another artist.
Yeah.
That becomes their
do that.
Yeah.
Are there elements that can get repurposed in content library? Because for instance, we have our Big Sky proprietary camera, high resolution camera, and we capture images. We'll go and capture, the Northern Lights. We'll capture certain things that they might use as elements in a show. And maybe that element would get repurposed in some other show in an entirely different, creative way. So in that regard, sometimes content can be sort of banked. But yeah, no piece would actually be repurposed or recycled.
Also, no artist is going to want to do what another artist has done.
No, what they're going to want to do is see a piece and say, oh, I love that idea. Yeah. Now I'm going to do my version of that. And that's actually good competition.
Yep.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody ups their game.
Yeah. This is probably a very inside baseball kind of question, but what's the cloud storage situation at this venue? I imagine that's quite...
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's definitely a thing. Yeah. We talk about it a lot. We talk about how we, every day we talk about this. because, there are costs associated with archiving any material, and even rendering in the cloud can be very expensive depending on how you do it and how you choose to, prioritize certain things. So it's another version of Tetris. It's just in the cloud.
Wow. Okay. So do you have to throw out things at some point?
We do. Sometimes we'll put it this way. What we will do is, it's just like anything else. Like on postcards, for instance, when I came into the studio, again, after opening, one of the first things that we started looking at was some of our storage issues. And we found that just like on your hard drive, there was like 9,000 versions of it saved. Oh my God. And so you have to be like, okay, wait, do I really need the first cut? No, maybe I'll just save like a couple of these iterations and then you purge the rest of it. So you do have to kind of do housekeeping. It's just good hygiene, right? Yeah. To go through and do that kind of stuff. So sometimes stuff does get purged, but for the most part, we do have a cloud storage capabilities where we can really deep freeze stuff at a much less expensive price. But if all of a sudden JoJo calls me and says, hey, can you go pull that thing? I'm like, I wish you told me that.
It's always that.
Put it in deep storage, because now it's going to cost me more money to get it back.
Yep.
But yeah.
Wow. I think I would have a heart attack if I was tasked with deleting only a few versions of something.
We're judicious about it, but we try to be smart.
Yeah. Didn't you guys have a rehearsal space in Los Angeles? It's like a mini sphere.
That's the home,
baby.
Okay, tell me about that. Tell me about that.
So we call it Big Dome, which I actually lovingly call Thunderdome, and it's right next to our offices. So our studio is there in Los Angeles near the Burbank Airport, and what people see when they go to the Burbank Airport right next door is this large dome structure.
Okay,
and that's our testing facility. So essentially it represents a screen. The media plane inside there is about a quarter scale of what it is here in Las Vegas. And it is an absolute godsend for us in terms of reviewing material, testing material, QCing material, because if we had to do that here in venue, we'd never be able to do it, because the venue is being used 24/7. Either we're showing, an experience, or we have an event, or we're doing maintenance, on the screens, or we're doing, it's 24/7 here. Where would we actually test this material? So we have this facility, and that is where I spend a lot of my time.
Why is it in LA and not just somewhere else in Vegas?
Well, the studio is in LA. And I think one of the reasons for that too is a lot of the people that, we do in business with and we're in business with are there in Los Angeles. It's still the entertainment, sort of capital. Yeah. And so it makes a lot of sense for our studio to be based there. Our teams are based there. Our artisans, our craftsmen, our technical people, we've pilfered the best people from around the industry, the traditional sort of film or visual medium industry, and they're right there. So studio there, testing facility there, works out great. Not that far from Vegas, quick 40-minute flight.
The creation happens, basically.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So on the inside, does it look exactly like Sphere?
No.
Okay.
It's very much like a huge warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's got risers that, sort of like bleachers sort of set up. It feels industrial. It's sort of intended to be a little bit like we're here, in the engine room testing out this material. And the screen itself, like I said, is not it's a quarter scale, but you still get what you need in terms of visually being able to see things that you could never see on a laptop.
Yeah. And is that also where the artists are going to rehearse too, or is that more of like a technical rehearsal for you and your crew?
It's really a visual space for that.
Content creation.
We have used this space in the past to do like mini shoots and green screen shoots and things like that for some of the artists. So sometimes, and the artists do come in there and review their material there. Yeah. We do a lot of our reviews there with the artists directly, but they're not physically rehearsing, there. There's other spaces that they have.
We'll go to a sound studio for the sound piece.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting when thinking about some of the artists that have played Sphere before, Dead & Company is the one that immediately comes to mind. I am very curious to understand how the visuals work for an artist like that, given they're known for noodling around, ad-libbing. How do you sync up a fine-tuned visual like this to an artist like Dead & Company?
Well, they're probably one of the most interesting groups because they're highly use of CG, right? And the digital medium and space. They don't do a lot with live capture. And again, they play around with a lot of different tools that allow them to ideate and change things, you know, a little bit more frequently, let's say, than some other shows that tend to sort of be more baked. And they change their playlist every night. So, you know, they're a unique example, but they've created this digital library of things that they use and tools that they use that they sort of play around with, but it's a jam band, you know? So a lot of that stuff is, you know, not as much storytelling as you might see with, you know, like an act like the Eagles, right? You know?
That's very interesting. I imagine Fish was probably the same way.
Same thing, real time.
Yeah, and I know that they had like this lighting guy that all the fans love that they wanted to bring in. How did you guys work with him?
Look, he is an integral part of Team Fish. So, you know, his voice and how things looked were, you know, I do think that it's different for them, right? So Fish, while they do a lot of like light looks and laser looks, they are not a visual band per se. So this was completely and totally different for them. And Chris played a part in that as well.
Yeah,
from a creative direction standpoint.
Yeah, it feels like that was probably a really key piece to getting Fish probably to feel comfortable with taking this leap, knowing they still have the core part.
Yeah, absolutely.
All artists want that.
All artists want that.
Artists want
and we want everyone to be comfortable, but they're also working in a new medium and it's stepping outside of their comfort zone a little bit.
I'm wondering, so you also book Madison Square Garden, among other venues, many other venues, as we were just talking about. I don't know when you're sleeping, but sleep. But I'm wondering, Madison Square Garden and a lot of other arenas are usually very customizable in terms of how many seats there are. So you can take away hundreds or thousands of seats or add them back in based on what artist wants to play there. At Sphere, can you do the same thing?
You can on the floor. The floor is malleable. So depending on the stage size, the stage placement, we have retractables on the floor that can be pushed back. So you can actually go from a 5,000 cap floor, if it's completely open, depending on stage size, to an 1,100 GA floor, depending on what it is that they want.
Well, look at Backstreet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Backstreet used a totally different kind of stage.
Yep.
You know, because as a pop act, they used a totally different kind of stage that you had to work
and it was
through.
larger than any other stage that we've actually had in here.
Oh, interesting. Okay, talk to me about that, about the stage and how customizable that part
Everyone,
is.
they dream it up and they bring it in. It's really what it is that they want to do.
I think that one was the interesting one where I remember when we had the first conversations and they said, we're going to elevate the stage.
They wanted to fly. They wanted to fly the stage.
Fly.
So bad.
And we were like, okay.
I was like, all right, well, we haven't done that yet, so we have to figure that out.
And that's one of the things that's interesting about Sphere, to the point that JoJo made earlier, which is we're still learning, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is still a new venue.
Yeah.
We're all still learning together. And the idea of someone saying, but you know what? I want to do this. And we all kind of go, hey, that's pretty good.
Okay, let's figure out how we do it.
Wow, that's so interesting because when I was at Backstreet Boys, I was scared for them while they were going up.
It's actually not scary. I did it. It's cool.
I imagine they strap you in.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're tethered.
Tethered in.
You're tethered in. It's completely safe, but yeah.
Is it lifted from the top or from the bottom?
So there are about 200 rigging points in the ceiling, but for that we used 4, and chains and motors come down, attaches to the stage, and then it lifts.
Wow. Okay. What are some of the other stagings that you found to be particularly interesting at Sphere so far?
When Anima came in, and it's EDM, so it's completely different. You don't need this massive stage. So he had, his setup, and then the 3 towers behind him. That was really interesting. It's also about being movable, because we do Sphere experience during the day and then change over to a concert at night. Everything has to be mobile. You need to be able to basically, once a show is over, take the stage, push it into its position, and then we change the house over and do something else.
Wow.
So it's a different way of thinking things as opposed to something just sitting there.
Okay, so once the ink is dry, an artist is booked and they're definitely going to be doing a residency. What is the first step right after that?
The first step after that is a storyboard to figure out what it is that they want to show the world. And then it's introductions to the studios and to the audio team to figure out how to make that dream happen for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will sit down with that artist and we'll start to ideate. Take the initial visuals, work together, get to the bottom of like, okay, what are we trying to do here? What's the set list?
Mm-hmm.
The set list is always a big part of how they know what the story they're trying to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it will change during the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
Certain songs might get dropped. Other songs might get added.
Always changes.
And then you go through your journey of 6, 8, 10, 12 months or whatever it might be, and locking that stuff down so that you get to that point where, opening night, they all feel good. Everybody is ready. They feel good about the show, and then they will change it.
So what typically changes after opening night? Because that seems pretty tricky if you're going at the pace of about a show a night, right? Or how often do artists play Sphere when they're in the middle of their residency? Is it every night?
It depends. It depends on the artist, depends on the cadence. Some of them, will do 3 days in a row, like a weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Some will do a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. It really depends on the artist's preference.
Got it. And so what are typically the things that you see people change after that opening night and their wheels start turning about what they could do differently?
I've seen IMAG change.
Yeah,
IMAG changes a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, when they have their sort of the picture-in-picture on the screen along with whatever the content is. Let's say that they're, because they're small on that stage, right? They're tiny little people on the stage.
Yeah.
Or artists, depending. And when you've got, the crowds way up in, the sort of 400s or in the suites. And one of the things that's great about the use of IMAG on the media plane, meaning it's a camera on the artist where you can see the artist, inside.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's IMAG that's being used so the audience can feel sort of more of a connection to the artist. And then other times they're not using any IMAG, and then they realize during the course of like, oh, you know what, I want to put IMAG in this queue now, So sometimes I'll see that change.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, Joe, your opinion, but for me, one of the things I've seen is you can go through the whole show, they can be prepared for this, and they get an audience in that building. And then they say, oh, I want to connect differently. Or there's something that I didn't anticipate being here, seeing that. And that gets them inspired a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so you'll see some things that might be subtle, might be bigger, but it's being in the building on that opening night with their fans and then sort of getting inspired.
I think that's right. It's really more about additions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So what is backing up from opening night to dress rehearsal? What does that typically look like? And I mean, is that just kind of a time to also test out the tech at the same time? Or are there technical rehearsals, then dress rehearsals? Like, give me the lowdown on leading up to opening night.
From the content perspective, most of the work is done in Big Dome prior to. So that happens there. Then from an audio perspective, we send our audio team with our audio rig to mimic Sphere immersive sound that we have in the building so that the artist is ready for what that is, because it is different than playing in another venue because of the way the speakers are behind the media plane. So you have to use inner ears. It's a different experience. We want everyone to be comfortable when they come into the building. And then because we are doing events every single day, there are no dark days, right?
Yeah.
So there are no real rehearsal full days. What we do is we take hours, and that could be overnight hours. It could be early morning or late night hours for the artists to come in and do their rehearsals until the day of the show.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't even think about the fact that since it never goes dark, you're going to have to just squeeze this iconic artist
We
in.
literally book the building 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Everything is succinctly timed.
Wow. Carolyn, I'm wondering, what are some of the visual things that you're able to do that are actually more technically challenging than people might imagine?
Well, look, it is a 16K resolution screen. And in order to put visuals on that screen, whether it's live capture, meaning you're using the Big Sky camera system, which is the camera system we developed in order to be able to shoot, imagery, live capture imagery in that resolution, it's a that's a heft. It's like, there's only so many of these cameras that we have. There's only so many people who are trained on these cameras. So that's more difficult. And then, even in the digital environments that we work with and create, you're talking about a very, very, very high resolution render, meaning back to our conversations on technology, it's a lot of time and a lot of heft in getting that kind of material rendered out properly for that screen. That's always harder. People underestimate that. There's a lot of people that will come to us in partnership with some artists and say, oh yeah, we're going to help create this content. And when we talk to these people and a lot of, we're just like, okay, so have you rendered at 12K before? Have you rendered it, at 16K before? And what's your cloud situation? What's your render farm?
Yeah.
What's your capabilities? And everyone underestimates it. They always say, oh yeah, how hard can it be? Until they try it. And of course, we're mapping everything spherically. So this is not a rectilinear image. Mm-hmm. So you can't just like take it and then just blow it up. It's not going to look right. It's going to be distorted. It's not going to have the proper fidelity. Mm-hmm. So you have to actually be prepared to learn something new, to come on board and create that content with us, because it's not going to be like anything they've ever done before.
Yeah. And I imagine that's also the same challenge that you're facing with Wizard of Oz. It's it's a rectilinear. Rectilinear. I like that
image.
Yeah. We learned something today.
Yes. It's a rectilinear image. Now it's in a sphere. Was that the biggest challenge?
Yeah. I mean, we obviously, for that, we also, we made a sort of a groundbreaking partnership with Google and Magnopus to use generative AI and different types of AI tools with the artist in order to fill that field of view, right? Because you're starting like this and it's an existing film. So how are you going to do it? Well, that was part of the journey for us on that was using both AI and VFX to sort of fill out that field of view, which was a challenge.
But it makes you feel like you're in it.
Oh man, do you ever? Yeah, it's going to be spectacular, but it's been a large labor of love. But it's the same thing. Even when you're creating something brand new, and it's not taking an existing film from 1939, it's a very, very big technological challenge to do it correctly, to do it in a way where every one of those seats, it's mapped in a way where when you're there, there's not a bad seat in the house. That's always the goal. So you have to keep that in mind when you're creating this material, because you're not doing it for just the center of the center of the audience there. You've got an entire
everyone,
bowl that you're filling, and you want to make sure everybody thinks that experience was the best thing that they've ever had.
Yeah. And I know you've both touched on this throughout the conversation about sound and how that is also a unique challenge because of the spherical shape. So can you walk me through how you tackle that challenge?
Sure. I mean, sphere immersive sound is laser pointed sound. So no matter where you are in the venue, you're getting that same quality of sound like nowhere else. But it is different. The number of speakers in the venue it's a large number.
160,000.
Okay, I was close. So it is also, the speakers themselves are behind the media plane. So now they are behind the artist, which is different for an artist to play in the venue.
So that's why they have to do the in-ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but although there's not a bad seat in the house, if you're going to Sphere to watch a show, where ideally would you want to be?
If you watch a show in Sphere, if you have the experience on the floor versus the 200 series, 300 series furnitures, you will have seen a different show each and every time. 100%. It is a different experience depending on where you are in the house.
That's why when people come back, a lot of times they'll try to sit somewhere else. Like Denver was a great example where you had the people on the floor and then they wanted to be in the 200s and then they come back and they want to be in the 300s because it is a different show.
I don't know that it's better or worse. It's just different.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Interesting. And do you have a lot of people that come back to the Sphere to see the same show over and over again? It sounds like Dead and Company is like a classic.
Yeah.
Correct.
Kind of a given. Same with Fish.
This is the same with everybody, actually.
I think we haven't done all the data from Backstreet Boys, but there were definitely repeats for that as well.
Wow.
Yeah, anecdotally, just by the people we knew.
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt that, first of all, Vegas is such a destination. People are already going there on vacation, or, I mean, I'm sure there's locals who also want to come as well. But it's also very close to Los Angeles, where all of the music stuff is happening. But I know you guys are planning a Sphere in Abu Dhabi, which is very interesting to me. Obviously, Abu Dhabi is very up and coming in the entertainment space. They're putting a lot of investment in there. What will be different about the Abu Dhabi Sphere?
It's going to be the same sphere as we have here.
Exactly, like all the same like dimensions and stuff.
Going to be the same, as we have here.
Will you also be booking that?
We'll see.
Because that is
I know. We'll figure it out.
It's
going to be great.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine although there's so much investment going into Abu Dhabi, it still will have the added challenge of getting artists who can perform to a 20,000. It's 20,000 cap.
It depends on the setup, but somewhere between
20,000-ish.
17 to 20.
That far away. But yeah, are there plans to expand beyond Abu Dhabi?
Absolutely. We plan on building more spheres. We plan on building smaller size spheres for different markets. So
if that comes to pass in the coming years, can some artists transfer the exact same show that they've already played in Vegas?
Yep.
Wow. I feel like that is very cost effective.
It is.
Yes.
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, the big challenge with Sphere, I imagine, is just the cost and the time and the effort. So yeah, what are some ways that you guys, beyond building spheres of all different shapes and sizes that are transferable, what are some other ways that Sphere manages its costs?
I do think that, again, it's a partnership. It's a partnership with each of these acts or the promoters that come into the building. But for us, every time we do something, we get better at it. We get smarter at it. And there's cost management that comes with that.
100%.
For sure.
I mean, it's like anything else. We are a startup.
Yeah.
And startups, as they operationalize, get smarter and more efficient. We're doing the same thing.
Exactly.
I am curious to learn from you guys what you think the mix will end up being as Sphere matures. What's the mix going to be between residencies, original content, sports, all of those different categories?
We're going to do as much as we can.
Yes. I kind of like this stuff, the way we're approaching it now, to be honest, which I feel like, we lead with what we think is going to work. Right. And so when it comes to the live acts, and when it comes to the original experiences or the licensed experiences like WAS, in terms of pre-existing content, or the marquee events like the NHL draft
or UFC.
It's all about what we think works. If we think it's going to work there, we're going to try to make it happen. So the balance of it is, it's part of the fun, but we also, we're not struggling to fill it. Like it's more of the Tetris of how do we fit all of the great things that we have, into a 365-day calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that I report on a lot at Billboard is AI and how it will impact the music industry. And I am always fascinated as to how AI could aid or change the live music experience.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering, are there some things on the horizon that you're excited to play around with or find to be interesting?
100%.
Okay.
We just had a meeting about it last week. Yeah. So the whole idea behind, audio reactive content for the screen, right? Using Gen AI to help us develop tools where sound creates visuals.
Interesting.
So a lot of that work it's being done in different areas. It hasn't, and we toy with some of it a little bit with some of the tools, but the idea of being able to create an entire show and program that way is something we're working on. So we think about that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, tracing it back, do you think it would have even been possible to do what you're doing right now with these Sphere residencies like 10, 15 years ago? Or is this exactly the right place, the right time where the technology caught up with the idea?
The landscape has changed a lot from my perspective in terms of how people, consume content at all and think about their entertainment dollars. I think that in an odd way, the pandemic gave a boost in the post-pandemic world to live entertainment and communal experiences, and so I think it's a hard question to answer because the world changed so much since 2020 that I don't know if it's part of what I see as this, voracious appetite for what it is we're doing at Sphere is a reflection of, that post-pandemic idea of, oh my God, I want to experience this with people. I want to be in an environment where things feel tactile and real. Or if that would have happened anyway, I don't know. But I thinking back on the past 10 years in terms of just the content creation side of things, like there's always advancements in technology and tools and such and CG and whatnot. But I think that this experience, this immersive new medium, I think is a function of, a lot of things, and one of which I think is people are just really missed that, that idea of that live, shared, communal experience. And I think that was that sort of put a burst of energy behind this.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And moving forward, do you imagine that there could come a day where a virtual artist could play Sphere?
Could be.
That would be an interesting thing to book. I don't even know how that would work, but
I don't know. We'll figure it out though.
Yeah. I feel like there's got to be some sort of 2030 version of like the Tupac hologram at Coachella.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
There's got to be something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it could be a really interesting thing for estates. Did y'all see the ABBA Voyage?
Oh yeah,
thing?
totally.
That was crazy. That was one of those things where I went in and I have to admit, I was kind of like, okay.
You thought it was going to be cheesy?
Yeah. I was like, I don't know about this. But I took a chance and I actually loved it.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of potential in it. I thought they did a really good job of balancing also that there were live musicians that were there to accompany these visuals. Because I think that we all still want to go to a show and feel like the people are there.
Correct.
Even if there are bells and whistles as well.
Absolutely.
I agree with you 100%.
There has to be a live component or element to it. Absolutely.
Yeah. It grounds it all. There's something that grounds it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I mean, right now it seems like with Sphere, a lot of the artists that have done super well so far have been legacy acts. Has that been an intentional choice when you're booking, or did it happen that way coincidentally?
It happened that way, but it's also those acts have immense following and getting people out here. But I mean, we are going to continually try and change the genre of artists that are in the building. We want new, the same way you said with Backstreet Boys, where you're all these millennial women were, in the house. We want to make sure that, it's for everybody.
Okay. Before we head out, I always ask my guest to make me a playlist. And as part of making this playlist, there are 3 songs that you have to pick for me. So first song is a song you can no longer gatekeep. Second is a favorite throwback. And third is a guilty pleasure. So Jojo, I'm going to throw it to you.
God, what is so hard? This is
what
really
is the song
hard.
you can no longer gatekeep?
I don't know. The pressure. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. A favorite throwback.
Superstition, Stevie Wonder.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a perfect one.
It just makes me happy.
It is a good one. What about you? What's your favorite throwback?
Probably like Billy Joel, Always a Woman.
Oh, okay.
I love that song.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the song that like you don't like if it comes up in your in one of your plays, you don't press fast forward. You're not like, oh yeah, I'm advanced past that one. I'm always like, I have to listen to. Yeah.
And then a guilty pleasure.
Teddy Swims, Lose Control.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one too.
I just love it.
I'm a little bit of a Swiftie.
Okay.
So it's pretty much all of Taylor's albums.
That's not that guilty. I think there are millions.
They're all a guilty pleasure. They're all a guilty pleasure. Yeah. But it just depends. Like my mood, which
mood
era
definitely has a lot to
I mean?
do with it.
Like,
Sure.
So, but yeah. Geez, yeah. I just, I could pick a Taylor song.
Circling back, I'm not going to let you off the hook for this one. What is a song you can no longer?
I mean, I don't feel like I. Every time, like, if I say to anybody, have you heard of this artist? Everyone's always heard of the artist. So it's like, I always feel like I'm behind everybody else on this stuff.
Behind the time.
Right. I'm always slightly behind the times. Like there's a country artist, because I'm pretty eclectic with my music stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a country artist that, Mark McNown, Same Questions, I think it is. And every time I've heard the song, but it's like really good. And I was like, who is this guy? I think he's been around. I mean, nobody's an overnight sensation in music, right? Everybody feels like, oh my God, suddenly they have a hit song, and everyone's like, oh yeah, they're just hit the scene. And meanwhile, that artist has been toiling for a decade.
Yes.
So I'm sure people know that artist, but yeah.
I didn't, so I'm gonna have to look.
Same Questions. Yeah, the song's called Same Questions.
Well, on that note,
Thanks.
we're good to go. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's today's show. A special thank you to Josephine Vaccarello and Carolyn Blackwood, and to The Sphere for hosting us today. And now it is time for the news. So I'm going to throw it back to Los Angeles, where we will run down the top music business stories this week. I'm back in our LA studio to tell you about what's going on the Billboard Hot 100 chart for the week of September 20th. Justin Bieber's Daisies is back in the top ranks this week at number 10. Love Me Not by R&B singer Raven Lenae falls to number 9. The K-pop Demon Hunters craze continues this week as How It's Done by Huntrix rises to the number 8 slot. Morgan Wallen and Tate McRae's country pop crossover What I Want sticks at number 7. Tears by Sabrina Carpenter falls to number 6. Soulja Boy's Soda Pop lands at number 5 this week. And another Soulja Boy's song, Your Idol, is in the 4th position. Manchild by Sabrina Carpenter climbs to number 3. Ordinary by Alex Warren continues at number 2 again this week. And finally, the number 1 song of the week is Golden by Huntrix. It's the 5th week that the K-pop Demon Hunters track is in the top slot. That's all we got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to On The Record, a production of Billboard and Sickbird Productions. I'm your host, Kristin Robinson, and if you enjoyed today's show, please give us a rating, give us a follow, a like, a subscribe, all of those things. As a new show, it's very helpful to get our episodes out there. And with that, I will see y'all next week.